We can start, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Venugopal, and today we are going to discuss on certain important aspects of GST, which is on GSTR-1. And I'm sure every one of you are geared up in filing your complaints in much better way. It's been 6 years, and there has been substantial changes in the GST from the procedural aspects and the notification. Way back 2017, everyone was struggling. Portal was busy, not serving, and everything, and there was confusion of what information to be filed where. But today, that's not the case. Today, we know in much in advance that what information has to go where. We clearly know, and not just that, we also ensure that the information that is filed is right, because time to time we are getting a system generated notices, and the expectation is the taxpayer should be on top of all the compliances. Today's journey, our endeavor is to give you updated about GSTR-1 changes that are coming up and certain other procedural aspects. So let me start sharing the screen. So what we are going to discuss today is on the additional reporting compliances that have come in GSTR-1. And some minor changes that have happened in GSTR-1, we are going to look at these aspects. We are also going to look at about DRC 1B and 1C, which are the important notices that are coming up. And there is some HSN related requirement for the e-invoice and e-waybill. Lastly, we'll briefly touch upon electronic credit reclaim and reversal and reclaim statement, which is due for filing by end of this year, which is Jan. Feel free to ask questions. The chat window is open. Put any question that you are coming. Make sure that you put your question in the chat. We will take up. We'll also give you an opportunity to ask question, interact at the end. Time being, you have been muted. At the end, you will have an opportunity to interact with us. Moving to the first thing, which is the additional reporting for e-commerce related supplies that have come in. This has come by way of change by notification 26/2022. We are in 24 and we are talking about 22. Yes, of course, because these tables, though it came into the notification, it has not come into the government portal. All right. So I would request you to all of you to open GSTR-1. In the meantime, let me also share the GSTR-1 format, because time to time there have been changes and people are like kind of lost the information about the GSTR-1. We still know the old GSTR-1. Let me add new share. One second. Yeah, so let me open the form parallelly so that this is visible to all of you. Yeah. All right. So we would be looking at the changes that have happened in the form. And once we look at the changes, my colleague Bharti will actually walk you through how we can execute this on the GSTs and more importantly, using of the tools, how we can simplify and automate. Like one of the things which we'll be discussing about the notices, DRC 1B and 1C, where Bharti will also explain us. The changes that have happened to the form. Firstly, the table 4A has been amended, while they have deleted table 4C completely. This has been deleted and 4A has been amended. Let's go back to the table and see what is this change causing or resulting? What is the change that has happened? If you look at it, table 4 is the B2C, B2B supplies. Table 4 is all supplies made to B2B. However, the B2B supplies have been further classified as supplies other than RCM and e-commerce. So 4A is other than RCM and e-commerce, and 4C is the supplies made through e-commerce operator. So if I am making a supply to a registered person, I am a registered person. Let's see, I am making another supply to another registered person. In our terminology, we call this as B2B. B means business, which is someone who is having a GST number. B2C is consumer who is not having a registered number, GST registration. All right. So earlier, the expectation is all the B2B other than e-commerce to be reported under 4A. And the e-commerce related supplies were to be reported under 4C. So 4C is not part of 4A. This is an additional reporting in the earlier period. So what did the change that has happened? Now the portal said that the supplies other than those is substituted with including supplies made through e-commerce operator. So now my 4A is the gross value of the supplies that I'm making, including supplies through e-commerce operator. Please note, this is a change that has happened, that including the supplies through e-commerce operators, I am reporting. So the new reporting which has come is not a reporting for the liability. This is an additional reporting which is carved out of the original reporting. This is point 1, including the people who use your own programming application to develop and submit the data. This is something we need to be mindful of, that the total sales should be properly reported. What goes to e-commerce and what goes to B2B is different. So 4C has been deleted. Likewise, in 5, earlier we had outward supplies other than supplies made through e-commerce operator. In table 5, which is B2C large, if you look at it, B2C large, where the invoice value is more than 2.5 lakh, it was using the word outward supplies other than supplies made through e-commerce operator. So now made to e-commerce operator was reported separately. So there was a 5A and 5B. 5A and 5B were separate. Now this has been changed to, instead of having it separate, it is only now 5A, where it is including everything. So the 5B, the next table, the 5B, which is e-commerce operator, this table has been deleted. So they have omitted this, the clause 21F, and this table, which was having as other than e-commerce operator, so they have changed as including e-commerce operator. So this is another change you should be cognizant of. Next, in the table 7, which is supplies to an unregistered person. This is B2C supplies. In B2C supplies, interestingly, if you look at it, table 7A, my 7A is a consolidated reporting, and my e-commerce supplies are available in 7B. Sorry, in the second part of the 7A. So, which is out of the values that is mentioned in 7A1. So this is a carved out reporting. So the gross value is reported here. Out of the gross value, a small section is expected to be reported here. Now, even here, they have made the change. Even here, they have made the change. And they have now first dropped 7A2 and 7B2. Basically, what was my 7A? 7A was intrastate supplies. 7B is interstate supplies. 7A is intrastate supplies, and my 7B is interstate supplies. So in both the tables, they have dropped 7A2 and 7B2, expecting that the e-commerce reporting is in elsewhere and not here. This is another change that needs to be brought mindful of. Then in table 9, table 9 was amendments to table 4, 5, 6. So the table 9 is amendments to table 4, 5, and 6. So here a couple of changes that have come. Firstly, this word refund vouchers which was issued, it was not to be part of table 9. They have removed it because refund vouchers, since it was not an invoice, so it is not fit to keep refund vouchers here. So they have first removed this word refund vouchers. So what you will be reporting here is only debit note and credit notes and the refund voucher original, refund voucher amendment. Both is dropped off. Technically, no one were actually filling this data here. They were already adjusting with the advances in 3B, so they have dropped off both here. After dropping here, they have also made certain changes. Earlier, if the shipping or invoice bill, the word was if the shipping or invoice bill was incorrect. Instead of using the word incorrect, they're straight away saying that amendment of shipping bill or the other details. So this is only heading procedural change, no issue. Second change is in this column headings. In the column headings here, if you notice in the column headings, you will find as invoice number, invoice date. But technically, this should be a document number because it is a credit note, debit note, a document number. So they have changed by removing this word called INV so that it becomes a document number and the document date. It becomes a document number and the document date. So these are the changes that have come up until 11. Next crucial change is in B2C and table 11. In B2C amendments, the word earlier used was month, but we now know the GSTR-1, when I am filing, if I am in a quarterly filer, I might be filing IFF or I might be filing directly GSTR-1. But in IFF, I am filing which is on a monthly basis, B2B only. B2C data cannot be filed in IFF. So B2C data is filed only in a quarterly basis, not on a monthly basis. But here, the wording which is used is tax period as month. The wording that is used here is the tax period as a month. Given that there is a quarterly filing and it cannot be month, the change that they have brought it was that for the quarterly filers, instead of month, it could be made it as month or quarter. They have substituted this. Parallelly, since in the table 7, amendments to relating to e-commerce was dropped, so amendments relating to e-commerce, both interstate and intrastate, both even here, this was dropped. This is the another change. Then the important change is on advances. Since the refund vouchers has been removed, they have inserted in table 11 advances. From 9, it moved to table 11, which is advances. Now, why this is a change? Okay. So why the change has happened? Simple reason. Take a situation. I have received advance for services, let's say 1 lakh, and I have discharged a tax of 18,000 rupees. However, my value of the service that I have provided is 60,000 rupees. Equivalently, I have raised an invoice reported in my 4A. But this 40,000, which was excess paid, either I can go for refund or I can adjust in the liability that is there in this current month. So if I'm adjusting my liability in the current month, there should be an option given for reducing my advances adjusted. So that is why they have used the word net of refund vouchers, if any. So they have introduced this here. Next, table 12, HSN wise details. If you look at the form, in the form HSN wise details, the description was optional. There was no necessity to fill the description. So they have removed it, making it mandatory to give the details of the HSN. Most of you, if you are using the portal for doing the data entry, the moment you have typed the HSN, you would have noticed the description has been auto-populated. These are the changes that have happened to GSTR-1. These are the changes that have happened to GSTR-1. Now they have introduced 2 new tables. I'll actually say 5 new tables. Broadly, it is 5. But just to summarize, table 14 relating to the supplier, table 15 relating to the e-commerce operator. These are the new tables that got introduced. We'll go all the 5 tables one by one. Broadly, 14. The table 14 is out of all the sales which I have disclosed earlier, if any of the sales have been through the e-commerce operator, my responsibility is to report here. Whatever the sales have been made through the e-commerce operator, my responsibility to report the sales here in table 14. Contrary, if I am the e-commerce operator, like let's say I'm Flipkart, Amazon, I'm Ola, Uber, whatever. If I am the e-commerce operator, if some sales are passing through me, through my portal, then I shall be reporting the details in table 15. Why is this change? Because 3.11, a change that happened in GSTR 3B an year back. To take care of those changes of values getting reported into those tables automatically, this change has come. Let's get into each of these tables. Table 14 and table 15. Table 14 is by the suppliers. Table 14 is to be reported by the supplier. The person who is actually making the supply has to report it. So there are 2 subtables here. There are 2 subtables. One 14, another one 14A. What does 14 says? It is supplies which have been made through e-commerce operator. So I'm using a portal, and through that portal, if the supply is happening, there could be 2 situations. If let's say I am making a supply through Flipkart and Amazon, both are e-commerce portal. Who is liable to pay the GST? Myself. It's a forward charge levy, but I'm using their portal only to make a supply. Let's take another scenario. So that is why I've said it is forward charge liability. Let's take another scenario. I am part of Ola Uber network. I am providing service. Now, in this case, who is responsible to collect and pay taxes to the government? It is the e-commerce operator. So these are 9 subsection 5 related transactions. Hotel accommodations, goods and passenger transportation services, housekeeping, plumbing related services, all these services, the e-commerce operator is responsible for making the payment of taxes. Now, all my e-commerce sales would be fitting into any of these categories. Sales on which I am liable to pay the taxes, sales on which e-commerce operator is liable to pay the taxes. So in both of these cases, I would have already reported the value of supplies in some of the other tables. Let's say the first one, if it is 9.1, it could have been to B2B or B2C. So if it was part of B2B, it would have been already reported to table 4. If it was not B2B, but it is B2C, I would have reported this already in table 7. All my e-commerce transaction, I am not liable to pay the taxes. It is the e-commerce operator. I would have reported in table 8. So I have some of the other ways. I have already reported this transaction in my GSTR-1 already. In spite of that, I am now asked to report this transaction. Freshly, I am supposed to report this transaction again. Please note, this is a transaction I have to report again. You may say that, aren't we making it too much bulky and too many things to ask? But if you are automating your systems and process, the automation can take. But if you have again made a mistake in any of the earlier months reporting, there is something called amendments. Like in the month of January, when you are filing your GSTR-1, you will see table 14. You will not see 14 here because the first time introduction is happening in Jan 24. But in February, you will be correcting this return in case if you have made any errors, you will be correcting. Hence, you have 14A. Now, likewise, you have e-commerce operator also to report. So this table 14 is by the supplier to report. Table 15 is by the e-commerce to report. That is why I said there were 5 new tables, will come one by one. So we have already seen table 1, table 2. Then there is table 3, 4, and 5. You can see these 5 circled things. These are 5 tables that have newly come. So what is the first one, table 15? Table 15 is the supplies which have been made through e-commerce operator on which e-com operator is liable to pay tax. Please note, these are the supplies on which e-commerce operator is liable to pay tax. While in my table 14, I was reporting all my liability and e-commerce operator liability. But in table 15, please note, that is why I highlighted in red color, it is only e-commerce operator is liable to pay tax. What about the other supplies that also made through e-commerce operator? The e-commerce operator is already filing a GSTR-8 where he is doing 1% TCS on it. That information is already filing. What he is not filing is the supplies being affected through him, and he is liable to pay the taxes which was merged elsewhere. Now that has been brought it separately for reporting purposes. Here they have brought a distinction. Here they have brought a distinction saying that this categorization has to be further been made to a registered supplier making supply to a registered person, a registered supplier making a supply to an unregistered person. Registered is B, so B2B and B2C or B2C. So both will be reported. Second, an unregistered person. We have the recent council amendment where the council has permitted that even unregistered persons can make supplies through e-commerce portal. And because there is a supply which is made through e-commerce portal, there was a special procedure which they have brought in. This is applicable only for supply of goods. This is applicable only for supply of goods. I'll explain your procedure in a while. But the unregistered persons can also make a supply through e-commerce portal. And that information, that unregistered person who is making supply through e-commerce portal is to be reported separately by the e-com operator. So especially, let's say, make my trip, the hotels, book my hotel, all these things. If they're doing a hotel booking, an unregistered person is there, so the e-commerce operator has the responsibility to issue the tax invoice and pay the taxes. Hotel is collecting the fees, but the tax towards it is paid by the e-commerce operator. So now hotel may also make a supply to a registered person or an unregistered person. In the current example, I'm making an assumption the hotel is not registered, right? So all this transaction where e-commerce operator is liable to pay tax, he will now classify under unregistered suppliers. Again, there they are making a supply to a registered person or unregistered person. So it is a matrix, a category of information that needs to get in. Don't worry if it is confusing. I have again broken down into a simple way to understand. Let's get into each one. Table 14. So when you go to the portal, you will see in table 14, I as a supplier, I am reporting. What am I reporting? I am reporting two aspects. Aspect number one, where the liability to collect tax under 52, which means I have liability. So this is my outward liability. I have to pay tax. They will only do TCS. So a liability two is e-commerce operator is liable to pay. Both the information I am giving. Please note both the information I am giving. For the TCS related, since the liability is on me, I have already reported. This is already reported in any of the tables from 4 to 10. I have already reported it. So whatever the values which I'm giving in table 14, this will not get auto-populated to GSTR 3B because it will become a duplicate liability. So this will not get auto-populated to 3B. Now let's look at the other aspects. Let's look at the other aspects, which is supplies made through e-commerce operator. Supplies made through e-commerce. Utkarsh, is the session getting recorded?
Yes, sir. It is live on YouTube, so we can give the link.
Okay. All right. So now for 9.5 related supplies, where the e-commerce operator is liable for making the payment of taxes, my responsibility is to show that, okay, so much of the sales that have happened. Now, the portal has introduced 311 clause 2 in GSTR 3B for them asking me to show how much of the sales that are happening through me. Same example like that Ola Uber, I am making a supply. The Ola or the Uber, the e-commerce operator has to pay tax on it and not me. Since the tax on the supplies is paid by the e-commerce operator and not the supplies, so these will be auto-populated only to the value portion and not the taxes portion. This is the another value, a point to be remembered in table 14. Now, for the e-commerce operator related reporting. So if you see, I have TCS and 9.5 related reporting. So in both the situation, since the supply is happening through e-commerce operator, I don't need to give invoice wise details because I've already given elsewhere. I only have to give e-commerce operator wise a summary. It's a group by sum by each of the e-commerce operator. I have to sum up. I have to sum up all the values that are happening by e-commerce operator, and I have to only give the net value of the supplies. What is the meaning of net value? Net of sales, debit notes and credit notes. So net of sales and sales return. Only the net value that happened during the period is what I have to be giving in the reporting section. This is on the table 14. Any questions to anyone on table 14? Okay, there's no question. Let's move to table 15. Now, table 15 is the reporting which is done by the e-commerce operator. So, e-commerce operator, as I said, he has four types of reporting he has to do. Reporting of what? A registered person to a registered person supplying to an unregistered person, unregistered person supplying to registered, unregistered supplying to unregistered. So e-commerce operators on their portal, they have to do little automation to capture this information. Now, if the supply is, please note, if the supply is to a registered person, if the supply is to a registered person, because such registered person is entitled for input tax credit, such values needs to be reported in his 2B. So they are expecting a invoice wise reporting if the recipient is registered. If the recipient is registered, invoice wise reporting. So both B2B or an unregistered person to B, it is business, it is invoice wise reporting. But if the recipient is unregistered in both the cases, B2C or your P2C, then I will be doing only the place of supply wise and rate wise, which means state wise, rate wise, I'll be doing a consolidated reporting. Point things that you need to know is e-commerce operator will report only those supplies on which they are liable. They are not going to report all the supplies like Amazon and Flipkart. They are not going to report any of those supplies here because they are not liable to pay tax. In Amazon and Flipkart case, the supplier is liable to pay the taxes, so that values will not come. And these supplies will not be reported any other place in GSTR-1. These values will not be reported in any other place in GSTR-1. So if you are an e-commerce operator, so you will not report in other section, you will come and report it in this section. Please note, this is not an additional reporting. Like in table 14, it was an additional reporting. Table 15 is not an additional reporting. It is an independent reporting. And the taxable values along with the tax liability, whichever has been reported here, this will be auto-populated in 311 of GSTR 3B, so that the tax is computed and it is paid additional than their own supplies. So e-commerce operator has their own platform fees and other fees which they are collecting, advertisement charges. That is one liability, and the other liability is the supplies which are affected through their platform. So both gets auto-populated to make the payment of the taxes. So when I've said that invoice-wise reporting, let's quickly see how the reporting would happen. So I will have to give the details in the invoice, even if I'm an unregistered person selling to a registered person on the platform, still I have to do an invoice-wise reporting. Receipt number, document number, everything has to be given. But if I'm making it to an unregistered person, then I will have to give it a consolidated, the supplier wise and the place of supply. So e-commerce operator will consolidate against each supplier. Like in table 14, I was giving against each e-commerce operator. Now e-commerce operator will be giving information against each of the supplier. He will be summarizing. So he will be grouped by the information and he will be submitting this data. Now, what about the ITC credits for 95 supplies? So since the registered person is entitled for the credit, so the portal is now from the next month, you will be seeing in the portal GSTR-2B, when you click on the all tables, the table wise information, you will be seeing e-commerce wise against each of the e-commerce, you will be able to see the information. So the supplies made by the e-commerce operator or through the e-commerce operator, where e-commerce operator is responsible for raising the invoice, collecting the taxes and making the payment, these values would also appear in GSTR 2B. Given that we are talking about 2B, some important dates about 2B which you should remember is these dates. Cutoff dates for values reported in 2B is 11th February. Like in the month of Jan, for the month of Jan, which you will be filing your GSTR-1, up until 11th February is what the cutoff date. Those values will be reported in GSTR-2B. Your input tax credit would come only if the returns are filed in GSTR. Values are visible in GSTR-2B. This is the condition started from 1st January 22 by inserting a section 16 subsection 2 AA read with rule 36 sub rule 4. Moving further, the special procedure for the unregistered person or persons who are exempted for registration or the composition dealer who wants to make a supply through e-commerce operator. So we got the permission for making them also, because otherwise the section 24 was making it mandatory for everyone to register if they're making a supply through e-commerce operator. So the MSME support business for the small scale was not supported. Now, in light of that, the council had taken a recommend in 48 council meeting, they have permitted to have this be allowed. Please note, this is only for goods. Even section 10 has a condition, if you want to be under composition scheme, you got to ensure that you don't do supply through e-commerce portal. But they have relaxed. They said intrastate supplies you can be able to do through e-commerce portal if you're a composition dealer also. Now, what they have clearly said is interstate supplies. So e-commerce operator shall not allow any interstate supply of goods. That is first. And the TCS will not be applicable because there is no liability. He is not making a registration and he is not going to pay any GST, right? Wherever the details are applicable, the statement 8 he would be filing where TCS is applicable. What does the unregistered person do? The unregistered person must definitely have a PAN number. He should have a permanent account number, and he should also get an enrollment done on the common portal. So there is an enrollment form, and you can do as many number of as enrollments against the same PAN, but one state, one enrollment. So if you want to be doing present business inside 5 states, 5 different enrollments you can take, but each state you will only get one enrollment form. Basically, they will also give you a GST number, but you will not have a login and liability to pay taxes like a regular taxpayer. So there is an ENR1, a separate form to get the enrollment number. This is for the unregistered person. Let's see, look at the questions that have come so far. Question from Rohit. Can we copy the value filed by e-commerce operator in GSTR-8, which we see in TCS TDS returns? Yeah, Rohit, you can definitely summarize if you have all your e-commerce operators filing their returns by 10th, and if you are able to gather that information, definitely yes, you can do it. But however, it is a very short window because by 11th, you will be the one filing the returns. And if you know that you have made the supplies through e-commerce operator, it's pretty simple. You can collate from your data. Shivam is asking, how do we calculate net value of the supplies? It is when we say net, it is net of sales returns. Vishal is asking for cloud kitchen supplying through Zomato, where GST is paid by the e-commerce operator. The GST is being charged without packing charge expense. Do we report the value excluding the packing charges or with packing charges in table 14? Vishalji, the answer this I would put it in this way. Firstly, we have to look at the contract, but broadly, if you read section 15, subsection 2, any incidental charges which are being added to the supply should be treated as the part and parcel of the supply. Since it is a supply of food, it's a supply of food bundled with packing and delivery. So it will still be treated as a composite supply read in the section 8. Hence, the whole value should be included in your table 14. Question from ARVIPK. If ECO is making supplies to B2B, then where we can see details of invoice-wise reporting. Sir, I am sure that you're talking about 9.5 because section 52 supplies are not reported in table 15. And when ECO is making a B2B supplies, I have shown you that there is a separate, let me just go back. There's a separate section reporting. If you see here, it is registered to registered. So ECO is registered, and it's a registered to registered supplies that are happening. So it would be reported in this category. Then there's a question from Samsung Galaxy. Very funny to call that, but request people to rename their device name. We supply goods through e-commerce operator. Do we need to report in table 14? Perfect. That's right. You need to report in table 14. Film Talk is tied with Book My Show for online ticket. Can we report in 9.5 or 9.1? What supplies come under 9.1? What supplies come under 9.5? The separate discussion. Not just because every transaction which is going through e-commerce operator is responsible. Answer is no. The e-commerce operator is only a facilitator. Only few handful of services are 9.5. Rest are all 9.1. Pentagon, is this new table 14 and 15 for e-commerce operator only? 14 and 15 is supplies who registered person who are making supplies through e-commerce operator and e-commerce operator also. For calculating net value, should we reduce exchange of goods? Okay, when the exchange of goods, okay, very interesting question. Sometimes it may so happen, or most times, in fact, in the e-commerce portal, most times you will see that the good is sent and you will say that the goods are in defective and it comes back. You will send back a new good. So the first question is, should I need to, there are two sales that are happening. Do I need to report twice? Net supplies means goods went and came back, and the second side is going. The net value of this transaction is what you will be reporting. Hope this clarifies, Mr. Shima. All right. So major portion of our discussion for today is covered. I don't want to leave Bharati less time. Let me quickly take up the DRC0 forms. Friends, this is a new forms that are coming up, that have come up, that is there live. And the Bharti session will definitely enlighten you as to how we simplify this. We have two forms, DRC-01, which is a system-based intimation. Please note it is a system-based intimation. Wherever there is a difference in liability, which means my R1 is showing 10 lakhs liability, while 3B I have paid 9 lakhs. There is a difference. Notice would be served in the form of DRC-01B. Or in my GSTR-2B, I have credit of 10 lakhs. While in my GSTR-3B, I have taken 12 lakhs credit, 2 lakhs I have taken extra. And notice would be served in the form of DRC-01C asking why you have made an excess availment. These forms can be also seen in services returns in returns compliance dashboard. If you have already subscribed to our WhatsApp channel, you would already get the communication about this. So let's come one by one. DRC-01B, it is R1 versus 3B. Basically, the department will issue a notice in part A. They will be issuing a notice in part A, which is system generated. It would be for a specific return period. So they will specify whether it is month of January or June, July, August, there will be a period that would be specified. Your job is to reply back in part B. Your job is to reply back this in part B. Now, by when, within how many days? Within 7 days, you have to reply. What happens if I don't reply? These taxes are going to be recovered directly under Section 79. 79 is a recovery mechanism which will invoke 3 months after DRC 07, an order has come, you have time limit to file appeal, you didn't file appeal, these things come. But in this case, if you do nothing, there are powers to directly go to the recovery. This is DRC 01B. And when you are giving a reply, how do I give a reply? You can give a reply saying that, hey, look, there was an excess tax erroneously in my December 3B, I paid 1 lakh rupee extra. Mistake. I am adjusting in the current period, possible. Or my GSTR-1 of the earlier period, my GSTR-1 of the earlier period was wrongly declared with a different value, a higher value, I have declared it, and which I'm now correcting it. Or I was not reported, I haven't reported my GSTR-1. Let's say in the month of December, I have not reported, but I paid the taxes in 3B. But that I'm reporting now. So any of these things are there, you can choose that as your reply. Or you can say that, hey, by mistake, my accountant made a mistake. Instead of showing 1 lakh liability, he has shown 10 lakhs liability, but my liability is only 1 lakh. In the next month return, I'll be correcting the 10 lakhs to 1 lakh. You can give that as a reply. Or I have issued an advance, I have paid the tax on advance, I forgot to report my adjustment of advance, which I'll adjust it in the next period. If you think that there is any other reason which you want to report, you can report the any other reason also. While on DRC-01C, which is pretty straightforward, this is on input tax credit related, where you will be served again system generated notice DRC-01C. This is in accordance of Rule 88D. Part A is your notice. Your reply will be going in part B again within 7 days. But there is a concept of interest if something is going wrong at your side. If you are not replying, then there are multiple options. Either they can block your credit ledger, or they can put a show cause notice saying that why the taxes not to be assessed under 73-74. Why was not there for DRC-01B? Because we have 75 subsequent 12, where it is a self-assessed tax. Self-assessed tax not paid means it is a direct recovery. So here there's an assessment and then a recovery. Why am I paying the why did I avail extra tax? I have to give reasons. Either I can say that input tax credit I have not availed. My 2B of the last month was 1 lakh, but I have taken only 80,000. This month I am taking in full. Or I made a mistake which I will correct it. I have taken import of goods, but import of goods it is still not there. So Rule 36 sub Rule 4 doesn't apply for both import of goods and SEZs. I have reversed the tax ITC in the earlier period. I put it under 4B2. I am now claiming it, which ideally I should have put under 4D1. I didn't do it. Or I have reversed the input tax credit because I have not made the payment to supplier within 180 days, Rule 37, or supplier has not made the payment of tax 3B not filed, Rule 37A, which I am correcting it. It could be simply, again, my accountant has reported my taxable value as ITC and I have not utilized it. Next month I will correct it. You can give that, or any other specific reason. If you are finding the reason, you can give that also. The next part of the discussion is the HSN, which has now come up. We had a notification 78/2020, wherein it is made mandatory that the HSN to be given in table 12 of GSTR-1 at 6 digits if your turnover is more than 5 crores, at 4 digits if your turnover is less than 5 crores. While you are generating the e-way bill, the portal was not categorically specifically asking this. Recently, in the e-invoice, they made it mandatory that you have to minimum have 6 digits while you are generating e-invoice, because 5 crores and above are mandatory to generate the e-invoice. So now the portal, e-way bill portal also said, if you are generating e-way bill through my portal, you better ensure you have a 6-digit number. So HSN is pretty straightforward. It's a 8-digit in India. So first 2 digits are called chapter, second 2 digits are heading, third 2 digits are subheading. The last 2 digits is your tariff. Okay. So that's how HSN has to be interpreted. Now there is a linking of e-way bill and IRN. Very soon this is going to be effective. You will not be able to generate e-way bill for a tax invoice where IRN is applicable. So they are expecting you to generate the e-way bill only after generating the e-invoice. So IRN is mandatory. However, they have given an exception for delivery challan and other cases. They brought it, but temporarily they have suspended. They have said that, okay, till the systems and certain things are streamlined, e-way bill portal will continue to generate an e-way bill, because for technical reasons, e-invoice did not generate it, whatever be the reason, they are still allowing it. Last part of our discussion today is electronic credit and reversal and reclaim statement. Though we had covered it earlier, reason why bringing up, because end of January you have to file this. Originally, 30th November was the due date. They have now extended till 31st January. What does this statement? We all know, when an input tax credit doesn't belong to me, or I have not fulfilled credits of section 16 subsection 2 conditions, I am not eligible to take input tax credit. But the portal said, please take the credit so that your 2B and 3B matches. When you say take the credit, report it in 4A5. But since you still did not fulfill it, you please reverse it by reporting it in 4B2. This is a new amended form that has come in. However, people are reporting and reversing, and they were confused between reporting under 4B1 and 4B2. Government said, let me do a one-time correction of the opening balance. Opening balance as on 31st July 2023. As of 31st July 23, whatever the credits that you have reversed or wrongly reported, which you have to avail, please report as your opening balance. Please note, this is as of 31st July 2023. From 1st August 23, your ECRS is a separate ledger parallelly running. This is kind of a shadow balance, which will help you how much of the credit is available to be carried forward and utilized at a later date. Later date, when you are utilizing, you have to report under 4D1 and 4A5. So they have also put a validation mechanism that any given point of time, your 4D1 should always be higher. So if you are reversing the credit, and if your 4D1 should be always be lower than 4B2, because 4D1 is utilization. Whenever 4D1 is more than 4B2, you will get a notice. A validation mechanism has been put in. And they have also given a facility to correct. Since you are entering the value till 31st January, if you have made any mistake, you can correct those mistakes 3 times by up until 20th February 24. Friends, these are the various points that we are here to discuss. So if you have any questions, we are free to take the questions. Yeah. Let me take up the questions in the chat. Supplies made through e-commerce operator in earlier period can be reported in the coming month. Balaji, since the table itself is coming into effect now, a good question, but the answer to it is because they have used only from January. So you will have to report only from January. April to December transaction, you don't need to report. The question from Shivam, if the supplier is selling new phone via e-commerce operator and taking the old phone in exchange, what should be the net value of the supply? Okay. Shivamji, when a transaction like this is happening, when I am doing by way of exchange of old and new, so there are two supplies happening. What? I am buying an old phone, I am selling a new phone. When I'm selling the new phone, let's say the value of the new phone is 40,000 rupees. 35,000 rupees the supplier has paid me in cash. 5,000 rupees he has given me equivalent to the cash, which is phone. So my value of supply is 40,000 and not 35,000 rupees. Okay, an administrator is saying 7 days is too less for a compliance because dealers are not going to check their mails, text messages. Valid. Bharti is going to again demonstrate as to why, how GSTN can help you. Chetan, is it mandatory to declare opening balance of accumulated ITC reversal? Chetan, in your own interest, please do it. Otherwise, you will again end up legal battles in the next month when you are reclaiming it. When there is no opening balance, how are you reclaiming? That's what I said. If your 4D1 is more than the opening balance and you're taking the credit, you are sure to get a notice. Better avoid getting the notice. All right, with this, we come to end of the theory session. We are now moving to the most important session, which you have signed up for today is like whatever I have said, how do we do this online? So that is where I invite my colleague Bharti to take up the next part of the discussion, which is on how we can practically do this on the portal. And also someone who has asked like within 7 days, how do I comply? These things are taken care through Bharti. Bharti, over to you.
Thank you, sir. So let me begin by sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay. So once you sign up and log in, this is what GST Events dashboard looks like. So we are an ASP GSP. So we have our own GST software, plus we provide APIs for integration to various ERPs. So the first thing to look at is our notice management system. So as one of you was saying that it is hard to catch notices and reply within 7 days. So here we have this option, notices. Okay. So if you have multiple GST numbers, you can keep track of it here.
Bharti, your screen is not visible. Friends, maybe there is some technical glitch. Just be right back. A minute. She would be joining in a minute. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions. Redmi 9 says e-invoice notice is received. How to reply? Sir, I would request you get in touch directly. We can see the contents of the notice. If anyone wants to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and also ask the question. Anyone, any questions which you would like to ask till Bharti comes up? Right, there are two questions. In GSTR-1 B2C supplies, there used to be e-commerce listing to be entered. Is the requirement removed? Rohit, the answer is this requirement from table 7 moved to table 14. Rajesh, ITC of March 19 claimed in Jan 20, now to be reversed or go in appeal. ITC of March 19, due date to claim was 16 subsection 4, September return, which is 20th October of 2019. You missed it. If you get a notice, you can go for an appeal. Then sale of movie ticket through e-commerce operator. Okay, Chetan, yes, you have asked this question multiple times. Yes, wherever the liability is yours to pay the taxes, you will have to show it in table 14 in two sections. Only where the liability is of the e-commerce operator, then it would be going to other part of table 14. Like table 14 had two reporting aspects, where the e-commerce operator is liable to collect TCS under 52, which is in your case. So you will be showing under table 14A. There's a question, vendor is not accepting the supply credit note for the period 22-23. Utkarsh, in the meantime, can you just check
supplementary, sir. It is supplementary credit. Supplementary credit note we have raised to the vendor, and it is for the previous financial year 22-23. Now they are asking that the credit note has to be reversed and the GST to be removed apart. It is a price decrease. It's a kind of a price adjustments. This credit note is towards the price increase and decrease. So there is two of the debit notes also we have given, and we also given the credit note. Now they are telling that since the October 23 slot is over and annual return filing is also done, we cannot accept the credit note or debit note. We will pay only the basic amount, which is the.
Yes, sir. So the section 34 clearly says the time limit to issue credit note is up until 30th November, which report is 30th November, which means technically 31st October is the last date for you to issue a credit note. So your vendor is right. He cannot reverse his ITC.
But sir, this is for the supplies occurred during the previous financial year, where I am not even given the PO itself from the vendor. So the PO itself had got amended in the next financial year. The 22-23 supply has been affected. Now the actual PO came in the financial year 23-24 only. So when we start the workings and we did the matching and everything, the time has gone to that extent. So is it still a chance of this thing?
Sir, I have to look into contract to comment on it, because section 7 in supply includes agree to supply also. No worries, we will get in touch offline. So you have to fulfill section 34. Your vendor is correct, but we can see what is the best you can do it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Bharti is back. Bharti, over to you.
Sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry, there was a technical glitch. I was not able to join back on Zoom.
GST and technology issues will always be there, Bharti.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. So yes, as I was talking about notice management, so we have this feature called autopilot. Okay, here what you can do is you can update download your notices with one click. Okay, here you can select the GST numbers, and you can give the command to download the notices at one go. And when you go to notice management, it will automatically allow you to save the responses and everything. Here in GST Zen itself, you can keep track of how many your new notices are there. So everything will be available under this notices, and you can filter by GST number as well. Okay, so the main topic here is today is filing of GSTR-1 when you have supplies through e-commerce. So what we do is we select the GST number and select the particular return. So for today's demonstration, I'll be showing the return for January as it is applicable from January return. So the first step here is if you have e-invoices, what you can do is you can download the auto-populated data. So if I give the command here, it will start downloading the auto-populated data which is there in the GST portal. Next step would be to upload my sales register. So I have prepared some data over here, as you can see. So these are my sales invoices and few are through e-commerce GST number. Few are supplies are made through e-commerce. So this is a very simple procedure to upload through Excel. Okay, I select the sheet, and if I've already mapped the file format before, so the settings will come preloaded here. Once that is done, I upload the file, and within a few seconds the upload is complete. It will give me the summary of my upload, and then I save and confirm entries. So this sales data has been saved to GST-Zen now. So what next I do here is, so if there is any auto-populated data, that will be downloaded. And then I have these settings. What GST-Zen does is, it runs a reconciliation between your sales data that you have uploaded to GST-Zen and the data you have downloaded from the portal. So based on that reconciliation results, you can calculate your own payload. So the invoices present only in books, you would want it to be uploaded to the portal. Invoices present only in auto-populated data, you can choose to keep the invoice as it is, or you can mark them for deletion. This is especially helpful in those cases where you have more than 500 invoices and you are not able to delete the invoices individually. So this will trigger an individual deletion of those invoices. Now, speaking of invoices that have matched, there might be an exact match or there might be some difference. So if it is an exact match, you can keep the portal invoice as it is, and it will not disturb that invoice in the in your GSTR-1, and the source will say e-invoice, IRN will still be present. So you won't have to calculate the delta yourself. GST-Zen will do it for you. Similarly, if there's a difference, again, you can choose to keep the portal invoice as it is or replace it with the books invoice. Once you have done these settings, you calculate the summary. So this step will show you the overall summary of your return. So once that is done and you upload, so when you upload, the final summary will reflect these figures. Plus, you can also check invoice level details from books XLS, and your payload XLS will give you what delta is being uploaded. Plus, you can also check the PDF. So here I have uploaded supplies through e-commerce that are showing separately now in my summary. So I can view the same under my PDF also. So if I go here, I can see under table 14A, I have number of records 1, and this is the total invoice value plus your taxable and taxes. Similarly for 14B. So you can verify the details before you upload. Next step would be to upload the data to the government portal. This will hardly take 2 minutes to complete the upload. And just to make sure you are uploading the delta, you can check in the payload XLS. Next step would be to generate the summary. What it will do is, it will verify the data you have you have present in GSTZ versus what is there in the GST portal, just to ensure that your data here is matching the data from the portal. So if there is any difference, you can check the reason and make the correction. If everything is 0 in comparison, you can proceed and proceed with filing. So you can file with EVC or using DSC. So as you can see, it hardly took 10 minutes to file your return. It is an easy procedure, and this new table 14 has been integrated to GSTZ. All these steps can be done for multiple GST numbers at once through autopilot. So if you have, let's say 14, 15 registrations under the PAN, you won't have to upload or check summary for each individual GST number. You can perform all these functions from autopilot. So here you can give the command file GSTR-1 return with OTP, and you have all the steps. So whatever GST numbers you select, it will allow you to perform the function for all the GST numbers at once. Okay, so this was a short demonstration for your GSTR-1. Now moving on to e-invoicing. Okay, so we have various methods by which you can generate e-invoice. Plus, there is one more issue now that you face with two-factor authentication. If many of you are using the portal directly, you have to generate one by one your e-invoices. Plus, every time you try to generate e-invoice, you have to get the OTP. Here, you will not need OTP. Once you are logged into the e-invoice portal through GSTZ, you will remain logged in, and you can generate e-invoices in bulk. Plus, at a later date, if you want to retrieve your e-invoice information, the details will be saved to GSTZ. So here you can see we have various options available. You have your standard Excel that we provide. We can map your custom Excel to the software as well. And we provide this offline e-invoice Excel. So in here, you can upload directly from the Excel through macros. Then you have, you can upload the e-invoice JSON also directly. And if you want to integrate your own software through API, we provide the whole documentation for the purpose of testing. So one short demo I will show you for e-invoicing. I have already saved some dummy data. I merely upload the Excel here. It will process the invoices. Just a moment. Okay. So once it processes, you upload the invoices directly from here, and it will bulk upload. Similarly, for custom Excel, you can upload the same thing. Okay. Now moving on, linking of e-invoicing with e-webbill. So once you have generated the e-invoice, it will be there in the sales register. What you can do is, you can click on the invoice here. It gives the IRN, the date, and the acknowledgement number. So from here itself, you can generate the e-webbill. This e-webbill will be generated on the e-invoice. You provide the details here, and you can generate the e-webbill. So within a few seconds, you can generate the e-webbill from your e-invoice. So that is also a very short process. if you can upload the e-waybill details along with the e-invoice details directly from the Excel as well. And you can use the offline utility if you want to get all the results within the Excel itself. So the procedure here has been explained. In short, you just download this Excel, enter the information here, and it will provide all the details. So e-invoice is generated successfully or cancelled, everything will be available within the macros itself. So this brings me to the end of my short demo. Back to you, Venu sir. Are there any questions regarding the demo? Okay, there are some questions in the chat. So how to ensure GST number is correctly mentioned in the sales register? So we have inbuilt validations. So if the GST number is not correct while you're uploading the Excel, it will give an error. And if you are uploading credit notes or debit notes, you provide a document type. So you mention I for invoice, C for credit note, and D for debit note. Okay. So another question. So we have to use GST Zen for GST filing, not the GST portal. So you can go either way. But if you're using GST Zen, it will be easier for you to file. Backdated e-invoice generated or not. So now there is some limitation on the backdated e-invoices. So if you are now there's a limit of 30 days for 100 crores and above. And if you are below 100 crores, you will not be able to generate an e-invoice that is dated before 1st October 2022. Okay. Can I cancel or modify e-invoice after generation of IRN? No, you cannot cancel or modify. Okay. For the cost of the software, Utkarsh, can you please share our details? You can get in touch with us. Okay. Mobile app is not available, sir, but you can directly log in through your browser on the mobile as well. Okay, so e-invoice, if you have some require some help with the notices, we can put you in touch with our experts and they can help you with replying for the notices. Oh. Okay, if there are no other questions, shall we conclude the session here, Utkarsh?
Yeah, we can. Thank you all for joining. We'll be in the
Sorry,
next
I think
session.
somebody is.
Okay.
Hello, is there a question, sir? Okay, I think we can conclude.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. Sir, you can, anyone who has queries, I have shared the number as well as the support email ID. You can ask your queries there, like you can mail us or you can reach out. So thanks all for joining for this session. Thank you. For this recording would be provided of the session to everyone who would have registered with us. So all of you would be getting the session as well as the PPT.